If you're watching this, we're inviting you to be part of the process and help us evolve the future of work management.
Since 2020, we have been trying to figure out what strategy, management, planning, and accountabilities look like in a remote, hybrid, post COVID world because it's not the same as it used to be. And there's got to be a better way.
And how we can help people help themselves so that
Mm.
they've got something to rely on so they don't have to go down into PowerPoint and task management.
When you talk to the leaders and the managers today, they're not interested in working in those platforms because they get into the weeds too much. There's got to be a way
Yeah.
to roll up that's not a PowerPoint. So we came up with a few hypotheses. We tried a few things out. Some of you out there may have even been a guinea pig to one of our little tryout sessions, figuring out whether or not we could do this with post-it notes and a whiteboard in a room full of people. And it turns out we can. So having validated the work with paying customers, figuring out a way to do strategic planning collaboratively in a hybrid remote environment, we said, right, let's build this. And this is strategy.
So I feel like work's become really fragmented. Like you said, you've got multiple teams working in different places in multiple platforms. And then for leaders and managers, it's obviously become really difficult to try and get work to be coherent and cohesive because
Mm.
everybody's in different places at different times going in different directions. And I think that's been a universal trend that we've seen from work and work management post-COVID over the
Yeah.
last, 3 to 5 years.
It's almost like the hybrid working environments and even some of the remote or the work from home push has meant that people have pulled into their silos in their own work, but maybe they're sharing with each other, and so the collaboration's working, but it's working in these little boxes. And when you get up at the enterprise level, it's really hard to see how everything sort of scatters back together and forms one picture of where we're going. I
Yeah.
think that's where we started to see a huge opportunity to build something that would align teams, keep people collaborating, but also keep them focused on the work. Like part of the other thing we've run into is like the teams get lost in the weeds. They spend hours and hours planning about planning rather than
Yeah.
doing the real work.
I think that's been one of my key takeaways is, in designing a platform was at what point do people spend more time in the platform planning the work than actually doing the work? And, with lots of project management softwares and other kinds of software, you find people, planning to the nth degree, and in doing so are actually getting in the way of the value that they're trying to provide. And so you have to read that line very, very carefully so that you're actually doing the planning that's required, but also still doing the work at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. And so what we've built is really a digital whiteboard that comes with structure. So rather than it just being a blank page we can stick post-it notes on, it's a digital whiteboard that would show up in the same way a Miro board would. But instead of it being sticky notes and things like that, it's here's a place to plan the strategy. Here's a place to roadmap your work over time. And here's a place to think about accountabilities. We can
Yeah.
color in from there based on what we think users can, well, what users tell us really they need from here. But we feel like we've got the basic premise right, and we're fulfilling on the prompts of how do we make collaboration and strategic planning and team alignment come together in one place rather than it being in a Miro board and then becoming in a Jira board and then finishing in a PowerPoint. Like we can do better. It's 2024.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why I've been thinking lately about like the four metas of work management is thinking about how do you manage something like four key domains, which most people operate in. They're thinking about like vision and how they bring that to life, value, what's value, and how do you create that? How do you manage the emergence of new work? Because with
Mm.
agile teams, we always see break-in work. So how do we manage that? And then also time and progress. So for
Yeah.
me, they are the four core components that I think our platform looks at and thinks about. If you only had four things, because there's 1,000 things to manage, but if you could break down into those into the four key fundamental things that all managers and leaders need to be across when being involved in work, planning work, and executing work. Those four things feel like the key domains that leaders and managers really need to be able to manage effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the time for me is the one that's become the real unlock. Like, we're not just working with, hey, put your plans in here. I think plenty of people do that. The job here is to get out of the, well, you talk about tasks are beneath us, right? Like the job's to get out of the work, get into the initiative level, the objective level, the key results level, plan that over time, and then let time run its course. And as time runs its course across your work, you are notified about when things fall behind, when things are ahead, when things are blocked, when there's issues arising. And that time is a variable when the work becomes fixed, allows the work to become dynamic. And that becomes your work, is instead of constantly planning, you're constantly iterating on the plan without having to replan or redo the planning.
Yeah, and I think that's the balance of the polarity you have to manage between creativity and planning
Yeah.
as well, because you're always, emergence of work means you need to be creative in order to adjust, but you also need to plan as well. And I think managing that polarity is one of the key things and the key core skills or VUCA skills that I think people and managers and leaders probably don't have enough of, and there's something that we need to think about as a manager or leader. How do we get better at those particular skills to manage the emergence and the restructuring of work on the fly as we're moving?
So Strateji is the name of the app. It's work management for leaders and managers. It's not getting down into the task work. Tasks are, in fact, beneath us. What we're trying to integrate down into the task management platforms, but we're trying to build a cohesive picture of the whole story as it rolls up. And having that as a work management platform that is dynamic over time and can respond allows us to be able to manage stakeholder conversations, tell stories about our work, manage accountability conversations and performance management, and really gives us clarity where we need it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And these are all creation of the platforms has been generated from our experience since post-COVID of working with visionary mining CEOs in organizational departments within government, with agile teams, with energy providers, with mining in all kinds of different fields. And so it's not really, it's very sector agnostic.
That's right. Register for the beta today. Be a part of helping us shape it so we can get it ready for market launch in 2025. And we hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, we're looking forward to getting feedback from real life customers on what they think and how they feel about it.